Hokage Starting from the Instant Full Level, Chapter 601 to 620. Chapter 601, The Talent of the Sky. Zephyr, I didn't expect you to come here in person. I'm afraid it's for Laxus. Who led the team in charge of escorting, was the first to speak. If this matter gets out, it might have an impact on the agreement with the four emperors. At the beginning, Crane was really shocked to see Long Yu defeat Jack. After calming down afterwards, the more I thought about it, the more uneasy it became. This can't blame the Crane, as the General Staff of the Navy, she needs to take care of the overall situation. It is clear that the current strength of the Navy headquarters cannot easily confront the four emperors head-on. Don't worry about it. Glanced at Jack, who was still in a coma, and said, I'm here for Laxus this time. Who were present in Laxus turned their eyes and landed on Long Yu, who was walking side by side with Tautu. After the battle just now, the posture of incarnation of a half-dragon made Long Yu's strength soar, killing Jack with one blow. However, the after-effects are also not small. After all, Long Yu's clothes cannot be elementalized, and once he changes his body, he may explode his clothes once. Right now, he can only be naked. That were bulging like a rock made the boy who was shrouded in rumors, and the pupils of the naval soldiers and generals in the field contracted slightly. After all, the character template of Laxus was originally a tough guy type, and the muscles on his body were also covered with scars. It only added a few points to the taste of slaughter. Originally, in their eyes, an academic theory, a guy with little reputation. It should be weak and windy, a bit similar to the type of Kushiro Shiroyuki town. Right now, Long Yu gave them the feeling that it was completely more Navy than their Navy. A cold and arrogant face, muscles full of strength, and a domineering personality. Just standing in front of me makes people feel an inexplicable sense of security. Are you Laxus? Zephyr looked at Long Yu, his generous hand quickly patted his shoulder a few times, and said with a gratified smile. Sure enough, you are a genius. Originally, when the old man and the old man in the Warring States period were arguing for the first time, they really didn't care about you. However, looking at your posture and aura, you deserve to be an absolute powerhouse with experience in the arts and the ability to combine devil fruit. With time, it is not a problem to become a general. Hearty laughter, in the port reverberated. The T-Dolphin's face changed, and he endured the peach rabbit. In his eyes, Tautu's temperament is very good, but it involves competing for strength and the position of general. For his old rival, but an inch. Don't let. Now Zephyr openly gave Long Yu such a great evaluation. This undoubtedly makes the T-Dolphin eager to see, the peach rabbit will be so violent. However, as soon as he entered the scene, Tautu remained silent. The vigor and competitive spirit of the weekdays was completely lost. Teacher Zephyr, I object. The T-Dolphin suddenly spoke up. I think to be a general, not only need to have extraordinary strength, but also need to have absolute loyalty to the justice of the Navy. At the same time, it is necessary to cover all aspects and convince all members of the Navy. If you can become an admiral by force alone, I believe this is a barbaric system like pirates. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of many people changed. Even Zephyr and Tautu are no exception. In their eyes, as long as they are not fools, they all know clearly. This is nothing but official compliment speech. Seems that in the workplace, the leader patted you on the shoulder and said, work hard, and you will be able to do a good job in the future. This is undoubtedly an unsalted empty promise. With enough emotional intelligence we'll just laugh it off. T-Dolphin's reaction is so violent right now, which undoubtedly embarrassed Zephyr all of a sudden. T-Pig, don't talk nonsense. Face sank, and he immediately said, Laxus, I hope you don't mind, Lieutenant General T-Dolphin is just too straight-minded and too sensitive to naval affairs. In Zephyr's eyes, no matter what. It was Long Yu's teaching experience, or the strength he possessed, is indispensable for the Navy headquarters, which wants to break the 5-point predicament. case, because of the T-Dolphin's remarks, Long Yu felt disgusted with the Navy and ruined their overall plan. This is not what he wants to see. Teacher Zephyr. The T-Dolphin was in a hurry all of a sudden. He never thought that between him and Laxus, Zephyr would choose to speak to Long Yu. The violent scene changed the expressions of the naval soldiers and generals in the field. Tautu, who was standing beside him, also regained his senses a little, but stopped talking, only to see Long Yu standing out from the crowd. Hee, Teacher Zephyr has raised his eyebrows, and Lieutenant General T-Dolphin is also worried. Long Yu smiled dryly. I'm not interested in the position of the so-called general. If I have to be a general, let my students be generals, this is enough. What a great ambition to make a student a general. The people present couldn't help but froze in shock. Chapter 602, Slick Tongue. Looking at Long Yu's face full of disbelief. As a navy, except for the naval hero Carp, who would not want to sit in the position of the general. Right now, Long Yu gave this indifferent reply like fame and fortune, which was undoubtedly a slap in the face of the T-Pig. Ha ha ha, it's a good sentence to let the students be the generals. The old man really did not see the wrong person. You kid is definitely a good mentor. Zephyr laughed and patted Long Yu's shoulder, revealing a trace of seriousness. Ain, Smoker, have you heard that? Don't disappoint Teacher Laxus' expectations, or you won't be worthy, and you will study with the boat. Teacher Zephyr, don't worry. Ain hurriedly responded with a standard military salute. Smoker, who was beside him, did not speak, but nodded silently. Look, no matter who is a fresh graduate, or Smog, who has long since graduated and made a name for himself in the sea. They all showed a convincing look, which undoubtedly made the Navy in the field, and even the Navy generals, showing a look of surprise. For Laxus, who defeated Jack, the supremacy of strength can also be verified. However, the means of teaching, as well as the ability to make students reach the level of generals, is another way of saying. Let students become generals. T-Dolphin snorted coldly. Lord Laxus, you seem to take the position of the general too lightly. Tautu and I have been stuck in the position of lieutenant general for a long time, and there is no way to take a critical step. This is not something that can be done with just a few words. Is that so? Thank you, Lieutenant General T-Dolphin, for reminding me. However, I just saw that Lieutenant General Tautu's swordsmanship has reached the level of a great swordsman, and he is only one step away from reaching the threshold of a supreme great swordsman. I think Tautu's swordsmanship is only a matter of resonance before it can finally transform. Peach Rabbit's expression was stagnant, and then he looked at Long Yu's eyes with a hint of shock. It can be said that she has been trapped above the swordsmanship, and she has no idea what level she has reached. After all, the Supreme Swordsman, that's just a title, and it is the limit of swordsmanship. Of Kendo is very elusive. How to make a big sharp sword be upgraded to the Supreme Big Quick Sword. Only an understanding, not words. More is required, personal understanding. Now Tautu is stuck on this one. Laxus, do you know what resonance is? Tautu grabbed Long Yu's shoulder with a look of excitement. The violent scene surprised everyone present. In their eyes, Tautu, who is a candidate for the general, has always been a calm, arrogant existence. When has there been such a gaffe? But for the T-Dolphin and Zephyr, they clearly know why Tautu is so excited. After all, she has been stuck at this threshold for too long. As long as this threshold is crossed, Tautu may not reach the level of Eagle Eye, but it is also possible to have the qualifications to become a general. For a time, everyone's eyes locked on Long Yu's body, and there was a hint of urgency on his face. If Long Yu can even point out the key points on the road to the Supreme Swordsman, that matter, once spread out, will definitely shock the whole sea. Sorry, I can't answer you right now, but in 3 months, I might be able to give you an answer. Long Yu shook his head and said. The 3-month-old Peach Rabbit couldn't help but startled. For this answer, she had already expected it. After all, Even though she had been immersed in kendo for so many years, there was no way she could break through the last threshold. Not to mention, the distraction of Dragon Feather, who has delved into such powerful abilities of taijutsu and devil fruit. Seeing Tautu's disappointment, Zephyr quickly changed the subject and said, "Peachy, don't be too discouraged, there are many ways to become a general. If you can also try to learn the 6 forms profound truth, which may allow you to find another shortcut. To become a general, in addition to the most basic military exploits, you also need a strong foundation as a foundation. For example, in the original book, Supernova vs. Barrett, Zoro and Fujitora fought briefly. Facing the meteorite falling from the sky, Sauron made a big move to be able to cut the meteorite into pieces reluctantly. And with a wave of Hawkeye's hand, the level of power that the slash can achieve completely surpasses that of Sauron. This is the difference between the Supreme Swordsman and the Great Swordsman. Now, Tautu is stuck at this embarrassing node. Moreover, the physical quality of women is weaker than that of men. Perhaps, the current Tautu is a little weaker than Sauron 2 years later in the original book. Peach Rabbit, don't be discouraged, this kind of man is just slick. T-Dolphin secretly breathed a sigh of relief and hurried forward. I know that you have always wanted to prove that you have the strength of a general, and have worked hard for this goal for a long time, so I have been searching for devil fruits for you. Having said that, the T-Dolphin hurriedly gave a wink to the sea soldier beside him. The latter understood, and hurriedly turned around and walked towards the boat. Chapter 603, Archaeopteryx Beast. After a while, an iron box was taken out. T-Dolphin, what kind of devil fruit is this? He frowned, looking a little surprised. In the Navy headquarters, as long as a certain military exploits are made, there is also the opportunity to exchange the fruits. However, the fruits collected in the headquarters are only collected by other navies, and in the case of excess, they are sold to the headquarters. That have not been recorded in the devil fruit illustration, most of them are relatively common animals. Now the T-Dolphin suddenly turned out, a private fruit, undoubtedly beyond their expectations. T-Dolphin, I didn't expect that you would find something good in private. Zephyr also looked surprised and said, however, have you identified what type of thing this is? Don't forget, Tautu is the goddess of the headquarters. If the fruit ability you have is too shabby, you will become a public enemy. The Navy soldiers in the field nodded silently. Just like the goddess, only with the right fruit ability can you go further and further on the road of the goddess. In case you get a pig fruit, rat fruit, etc. That's totally ruining the view. Hee, Mr. Zephyr, you underestimate me too much. There was a hint of pride on the T-Dolphin's face, and he opened the box with his backhand, revealing a banana-like shape. However, the whole body is covered with strangely patterned fruits. This fruit has already appeared in the picture book, it is the fruit of the ancient animal species of the Archaeopteryx. The people present at the Archaeopteryx beast couldn't help but startled. In the world of One Piece, there are still some ancient islands. Even in the small garden, there are also dinosaurs. Like the Archaeopteryx, that kind of an ancient bird with scales all over its body and fangs, many people have come across it. However, the ancient species sounded really strong, and in terms of rarity, it was not comparable to the ordinary animal type, or even the general superhuman type. However, when I think of a big beauty, I am turning into an Archaeopteryx beast. This is a proper destruction of the 3 views. Cough, T-Pig, sometimes the teacher really doubts your aesthetics. Zephyr coughed helplessly. I think, if you are willing to let Tautu serve the fruit, I am afraid that all the male compatriots in the Navy are not willing to let you go. Ah, T-Dolphin couldn't help but startled, feeling the cast around him, and instantly turned into an unfriendly gaze, unable to refute it for a moment or 3. After all, in this sea, devil fruits are already a very rare existence. In a lifetime of sailing, it is good to be able to encounter 2 or 3. And find the right one for you. That is harder than reaching the sky. Even a careerist like Blackbeard Deaky willingly lurked in the Whitebeard pirates for decades for the secret fruit, and only had the chance to meet him after being a little scoundrel for most of his life. Is enough to prove that this sea cannot let them choose arbitrarily. T-Pig, I thank you for your kindness. Tautu pushed back the box containing the devil fruit. This fruit, in fact, you can keep it for yourself. With the 6-style body art you practiced, coupled with the ability of this ancient devil fruit, it will undoubtedly make your strength to a higher level. As for me, let's go with the flow, maybe God hasn't loved me yet. The T-Dolphin was stunned, seeing that he was suddenly rejected, and couldn't answer for a moment. Cough, this should be regarded as Lieutenant General T-Dolphin. Was it rejected for the 368th time? No, I remember 369 times, and I can be called the king of the Navy's lovelorn. However, Lieutenant General T-Dolphin's vision is indeed not very good. If Lieutenant General Tautu really uses this so-called Archaeopteryx fruit, I am afraid that many people in the headquarters will be anxious about him. Scene suddenly changed. There was a commotion. Facing the confident confession of the T-Dolphin, and failing again, the people present are obviously used to it. Just that these thoughts just surfaced, and the words that came out the next moment moved everyone's nerves. God doesn't miss you, maybe I miss you. The small voice seemed to be filled with magical sounds at this moment. The moment before, the T-Pig was a confession of failure. Not 100, but 99 people who have confessed to Tautu in the Navy headquarters. But like Laxus, when others fail, they follow suit. It must give people a feeling of being too ugly to eat. What's more, the devil fruit that the T-Dolphin just took out is a bit shabby, but at least it is an ancient species. Ancient species, it must at least be the superhuman type, or even the rarer natural type. Laxus, what do you mean? The T-Dolphin's expression sank, and he said anxiously. Peach Rabbit doesn't even like the ancient devil fruit in my hand. I don't believe that a kid like you will have something rare that will make Lieutenant Peach Rabbit be moved. Facing the aggressiveness of the T-Dolphin, the words of the Navy soldiers and generals present felt a little too much. However, in their eyes, anyone who pursues the goddess of the Navy is the public enemy of the entire Navy. What's more, they are eager to see what bargaining chip Long Yu has in his hands to be able to overwhelm the T-Dolphin. Chapter 604, You Demons. Hee, Lieutenant General T-Dolphin misunderstood you. Long Yu let out a dry laugh, and took out the remaining devil fruit in the system space like a backhand trick. Seeing this scene, the people present were stunned at first, and then looked at Long Yu with a little more shock. After all, it was possible to conjure a fruit out of thin air before their eyes. This kind of method is not. Anyone can do it. Laxus, this is the turkey fruit on the auction house just now. Tautu looked at this familiar fruit, and Lume couldn't help but pick it up, looking a little surprised. Turkey. T-Dolphin was stunned for a moment, and the ugly image of a turkey flashed in his mind, and said, Laxus, you won't tell me, this is what you are ready to give to Lieutenant General Tautu. You are insulting our IQ by stepping on a horse. No matter how ugly my Archaeopteryx beast is, it is much better than your turkey. You are trying to ridicule the Peach Rabbit. Present did not refute the vulgar remarks made by the T-Dolphin. In their eyes, there is no comparison between the ordinary animal-type devil fruit and the ancient species. T-Pig, shut up, this has nothing to do with Laxus. Peach Rabbit snorted coldly. In the auction house, Laxus should have seen that I wanted to take this one fruit, so I will take it out now. However, I still want to thank you Laxus for your kindness. I can't have this devil fruit. If you need Bailey, you can use my name to make an equivalent deal to the Navy headquarters. In the beginning, in order to defeat Long Yu, Tautu proves that he is the closest existence to the general. So I desperately want to use the ability of the animal-type devil fruit to improve my combat power. However, I figured it out now, let alone as a woman, but I can't pass the level of love of beauty. You really don't want it. According to my inference, this should be an Eudemon's devil fruit. Long Yu smiled playfully and said, if you don't want it, then forget it. The navy in the presence of the Eudemons was stunned. Even Zephyr and Tautu are no exception. After all, phantom beasts and ordinary animal devil fruits are completely different existences. Rarity, I am afraid that even the natural system can't match. Now, as soon as Long Yu opened his mouth, he said that the fruit was actually a phantom beast. The gap between the front and rear is a bit too big. Laxus, don't talk nonsense here. If this is a turkey fruit, you can find out if you take out the devil fruit Pokédex. The T-Dolphin shouted hurriedly. At present, Long Yu's actions are undoubtedly classified as a rival in love by the T-Dolphin. As long as he finds any chance, he will spare no effort to suppress it. No, I've seen the turkey fruit. It's indeed a bit different from the one in Laxus' hands, but it's not a phantom beast. I am not sure. It's hard to tell apart. Zephyr frowned and studied one or two before opening the mouth. As the former general of the Navy headquarters, and also the chief instructor of the Naval Recruit Battalion, Zephyr's experience is not ordinary people can compare. Peach Rabbit, I also agree with Zephyr's opinion. Crane nodded in agreement. Whether this fruit is an phantom beast or not, we can't be sure, but if you really intend to use the power of the devil fruit to improve your own strength, you must at least have the courage to make a choice. After all, the devil fruit guide is just a reference for you. To truly decide your own destiny, you still need to control it in your own hands. Feeling the fleeing gazes all around him, Tautu fell silent. Who witnessed this scene, flashed an anxious look on his face, and said, Peach Rabbit, don't take any chances. If this is really a ghostly beast devil fruit, it's a priceless thing. Who would be willing to give it to you? You, a woman you've never met, take it out for nothing. No, everyone is crazy about you. The hurried voices echoed in the port. Facing the remarks of the T-Dolphin, the Navy soldiers present were also moved. After all, if you put a one Eudemon's devil fruit and a beautiful woman in front of them, they will definitely choose the former. In this world of the weak and the strong, a big fist is the last word. However, in the face of all this, Long Yu still kept a smile, as if he didn't take these words to heart at all, quietly staring at Tautu. I'd love to try it. Tautu raised her head suddenly, her beautiful eyes became more determined, and said, Laxus, I want to take a bet, can you let me be willful once? Take a gamble. Long Yu smiled, and under the watchful eyes of the public, he reached out and rubbed Tautu's head, saying, if as a man, a woman has no chance of being self-willed, it would be a failure. Sometimes, when it's time to break it. If you take this step, maybe you will understand more and go further in swordsmanship. Speaking, Long Yu handed the devil fruit in his hand to Tautu. Of everyone watching, this scene changed drastically. Chapter 605, Devil Fruit. Pity that this time, before everyone could react, the determination in Tautu's beautiful eyes became more and more firm, and the red lips were slightly moved, and they bit down directly. Gulu. Many people present saw this scene and couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Let the Navy goddess eat a one-suspected turkey fruit, if the bet is lost. That is the phoenix turned into a chicken. Peach Rabbit, how do you feel now? Crane was the first to speak in a hurry. She has always regarded Tautu as her younger sister, under the key link that determines her destiny. Crane is eager to know the result. The huge port pier, hundreds of thousands of pairs of eyes, all locked on Tautu's body. Looking at Tautu's dazed expression, the nerve strings of the people present were plucked all of a sudden. Laxus, you really don't have any good intentions. You gave away the devil fruit of the phantom beast. That's just a joke. The T-Dolphin suddenly drank violently in a cold voice. Figure, like a ghost, he appeared in front of Long Yu. On his waist fell into his hands, and stabbed at Long Yu at an extremely tricky angle. Venom Sting. PFF'd. The sword light in the sky is like a tide, giving people the feeling of a poisonous snake spitting out a letter. The violent scene made the pupils of everyone in the field shrink suddenly. However, before they could react, a slender hand wrapped in flames, as if coming first, passed through the sword light that filled the sky, and grabbed the sharp blade with its bare hands. Laxus, thank you for your devil fruit. This huge power made me unable to adapt at first, and made you implicated. If possible, I would like to repay your favor. There was a hint of apology on Tao Tuchao's face, who stopped in front of Long Yu. In repayment, Long Yu raised his brows and said with a smile, if you have to repay, you can promise me with your body. Dreaming, urgent shouts in unison echoed in the field. The moment before, seeing Long Yu, under the watchful eyes of the public, he reached out to their goddess and rubbed it unscrupulously. That has made them unacceptable. Now he is still in public, making such frivolous jokes. This is simply for their entire navy. At least, in their eyes, the navy headquarters is full of talents. Like Tautu is only qualified to be owned by people in the navy. I can think about your request. If your swordsmanship and strength can surpass mine, I will allow you to chase me. Peach Rabbit's red lips were slightly upturned, and she said with a smile. The small voice, at this moment, swept the audience like a hurricane. For the naval soldiers and even the generals in the field, it was a crushing blow directly to the depths of their souls. They never thought of the dignified naval goddess. On weekdays, the iceberg goddess, who they dared not approach at all, would give such an answer. Is this allowed to pursue, Peach Rabbit, are you kidding me? The T-Dolphin roared. Shave, under the high-speed steps, the whole body is like a ghost, and disappeared out of thin air again. However, this time, the force was obviously too much, and even the floor under my feet shattered. Appeared again, had already passed Tautu, and came behind Long Yu. However, before the T-Dolphin could make a move, Tautu's figure, like a shadow, appeared in front of him again. T-Pig, I've said enough. Boom, blazing flames burst out from Tautu's body. The violent air waves rolled away in a rolling posture. Bang, with a huge impact, it collided with the Tachi in the T-Dolphin head-on. Accompanied by the dull metal collision sound, the T-Dolphin flew out like a sandbag. The Navy soldiers stationed around, even Zephyr and Hihi, were also shocked by this violent aura. After a full retreat of more than 10 meters, he stopped. Just that they, who had just stood firm, turned their eyes and locked them in the sky. What the hell is this? Of shock flashed across the old face like a crane in a tree. Immediately full of excitement, he shouted in a hurry. This is really an Eudemon's devil fruit, I'm afraid it's still legendary. Legendary level, Zephyr's expression has also changed. Eudemons refer to the existences that exist in mythology. But Eudemons also have two different forms. Among them, Kaido and the Black Charcoal Serpent have real forms, which have become manifested. Captain of the first team of the Whitebeard Pirates, and Sengoku, the Marshal of the Navy Headquarters, they are legendary forms with ethereal bodies. With the help of the fruit ability, the body can be infinitely enlarged and the irregular changes that Tautu is displaying right now, and the huge fire phoenix that appears in the sky, undoubtedly shows this. Really phantom beasts. The T-Dolphin stopped and looked at the flames gathered in the sky, turning into a phoenix. After making a sharp cry, he rushed directly into Tautu's body, his face full of disbelief. It can be said that no matter was a T-Dolphin, or the Navy soldiers and generals in the field, no one wanted to believe it at all. Chapter 606, You have become stronger. There will be people who know that it is an Eudemon's devil fruit, and they will give it away. Woo! Feeling the endless power of fruit, poured into the body, Tautu took a deep breath, opened her beautiful eyes, and looked at Long Yu. Laxus, I didn't expect this to be an Eudemon's devil fruit. I thought you were lying to me. This Eudemon's fire phoenix really surprised me. However, if you hand over a good thing like this and want to give it to me, if you want to defeat me in the future, it will be very difficult for me to make a promise. Is it? Long Yu smiled and shrugged his shoulders. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he reached out and rubbed Peach Rabbit's head again, saying, "You have become stronger, and the people who can defeat you have become less, just for me no worries." Man, are they all so domineering. Tautu smiled and broke free from Long Yu's hand, saying, "Next time we meet, I will become stronger, maybe I have become a general." It's good to be ambitious, I hope you won't be overtaken by my students. Long Yu smiled and patted Peach Rabbit on the shoulder, suddenly looking up at T-Dolphin. However, this time, don't take action. Some things need to be solved by the man himself. I'm right, Lieutenant General T-Dolphin. These words fell, everyone's nerves suddenly tightened. They know very well that, over the years, the T-Dolphin has been pursuing the Peach and Rabbit for a long time. Now I have worked hard to find one ancient devil fruit. Everything is to get the heart of the Peach Rabbit. However, now Long Yu has taken the lead, which is undoubtedly difficult to accept. T-Pig. Zepha's expression changed, and he couldn't help but panic. However, he was quickly stopped by the crane probe beside him. Zepha, I think Laxus is right. Jealousy happens from time to time. If there is no way to solve it, it will be a knot for T-Pigs. Was stunned for a moment, looked at Long Yu subconsciously, gritted his teeth and said, "Laxus, I hope you will try to be merciful." Those who were merciful at the scene couldn't help but be stunned. In their eyes, T-Dolphin and Dragon Hand, of course they prefer T-Dolphin. Now, as soon as Zepha opened his mouth, he asked Long Yu to show mercy. "That's because Jack was defeated, Mr. Zepha. It seems that in your eyes, the students still have many shortcomings, which makes you look down on them." There was a ferocious look on the T-Dolphin's face. Huo Ran looked up, like a ghost, appearing beside his adjutant. "Lieutenant General T-Dolphin, what do you want to do?" The adjutant's expression changed suddenly. "This devil fruit, since Lieutenant General Tautu is no longer needed, it is useless to keep it." T-Dolphin suddenly raised his head, grabbed the devil fruit, opened his mouth and bit it. PFF'd. The devil fruit like a banana was bitten off by a third of the T-Dolphin and swallowed directly into the belly. The violent scene changed the expressions of everyone in the arena. All the people spread out and leave enough battlefield for them. The crane's expression changed, and he hurriedly shouted. The navy present, and even Ghost Spider, who was a lieutenant general, flickered and quickly retreated. Seeing this scene, Zepha sighed helplessly. Also fell hundreds of meters away, standing with the Ghost Spider and others. "Mr. Zepha, I didn't expect that the T-Pig guy would even take devil fruits. That guy doesn't like being a land duck. It seems that this time, in order to defeat Laxus, he was desperate." The Ghost Spider couldn't help but say. "However, Mr. Zepha, do you think Laxus can really win?" Also a Vice Admiral, Ghost Spider clearly knows that he is outstanding, otherwise he will not surpass them, and is called a candidate for generals. "No, I'm not underestimating the T-Dolphin. Voice, it's just that, until now, I have no way to see the details of Laxus." The Ghost Spider's expression changed involuntarily. As one of Zepha's students, Ghost Spider clearly knows that his teacher's eyes are old-fashioned. Even in addition to the 6 style skills, Hesho, who specializes in evaluating the value of Tao, can also study the existence. That requires a wealth of combat experience, as well as strong strength as a basic support. It can be said that as long as Zepha takes a look, he can easily infer the extent of a person's strength. However, at the moment, even their teacher can't see the depth of this young man. Could it be that, with the strength to defeat the beast pirates, one of the 3 disasters, Drought Jack, isn't it the pinnacle of Laxus? Yeah. The hoarse roar, as if passed from ancient times. Under the distorted expression of the T-Dolphin, the muscles on his body bulged rapidly, and a large number of scales quickly spread under the skin. Archaeopteryx, the ancient ancestor of birds, has sharp claws and sturdy scales. For the T-Dolphin, it may not be very skilled to display the ability of the devil fruit for the first time. Chapter 607, The Killer. no means have been developed. However, for the current T-dolphin, as long as it can greatly enhance its own strength in an instant, it is enough. Roar. The T-dolphin raised its head to the sky and let out a roar like a wild beast. The moment Huo Ran raised his head, his scarlet eyes locked directly on Long Yu's body. You bastard, my speed is among the lieutenant generals, and I was originally a first-class existence. Now that I have this ancient fruit, my speed and strength will increase by several levels. I'm telling you all this, I just hope you don't lose too fast. 6 types of profound meanings and 10 burials. Bang! A low explosion sound suddenly sounded. On which the T-dolphin was originally standing shattered like a cobweb. Of this foot gives the impression that it is entirely possible to penetrate the iron plate by the power of the pedal alone. The most important thing is to capture the breathing reaction of the T-dolphin in the domineering arrogance that they unfolded. There are actually 10 tens. No, it should be said that within their line of sight, there are 10 tens, covered with scales and armor. The T-dolphin. The violent scene made everyone's faces change dramatically. Especially the Navy man who was the adjutant of the T-dolphin. His face changed, and he said in shock, God, is this the role of the ancient species? Let's let Lieutenant General T-dolphin shave off the original 5 burials and transform into 10 burials. That's a method of using super high-speed movement to form 10 avatars that are exactly the same as the real body, so as to disrupt the enemy's perception of domineering and domineering. It can be said that as long as there is a flaw in the opponent, Lieutenant General T-dolphin will be able to unleash a mortal blow in any direction. The voice of Chang's words echoed in the port. For this narration, the T-dolphin is obviously not surprised. It can be said that it should be an absolute belief in his own strength, which is already his invincible trump card. Now it has been increased to 10 burials, and the speed is not as simple as doubling it. Messy thoughts flashed in Cha Do's mind, and when his eyes fell on Long Yu, he couldn't help but be startled. Faced with 10 killer moves that can attack at any time, Long Yu, who was in it, slowly closed his eyes under the crowd. An inexplicable scene made everyone in the field look slightly changed. The T-dolphin, who was a participant in the war, suddenly turned around, and Lu Lun roared wildly. What an arrogant person, dare to despise this Lieutenant General. 10 burials, shave and kill together. There was a slight hum in the air, and the 10 bodies entrenched in the surrounding. Shadows overlapped in front of Long Yu in an instant. The powerful breath is like the moment when the frenzy detonates. The armed color is domineering, and it has already covered the sword. Without any bells and whistles. The moment of striding, the ground shook violently, and the sword in his hand turned into an afterimage and stabbed towards Long Yu's chest with an incomparable stance. The violent scene was as fast as lightning. At this close distance, there is absolutely no way to hide. It can be said that no matter Zepha, he and the others, just a thought flashed. Hard connection. Bang! The dull air squeak sounded suddenly. The sharp sword gang pierced the air directly, rubbing the skin of Long Yu. The thorn that failed, directly spanned dozens of meters away, piercing the huge soap tree. Accompanied by the dull sound of collapse, it broke directly at the waist. However, facing this scene, the pupils of those present suddenly shrank. Looking at Long Yu with his eyes closed, his eyes were full of disbelief. Just now Long Yu was in the position, and the strike that was as fast as a thunderbolt was not simply a move to evade. The contrary, with the help of the 6-style body technique, the body is drawn on paper, and the body is transformed into a catkin that moves with the wind to dodge. Seeing this scene, the T-dolphin was startled at first, and then roared again. You bastard, I'm going to stab you into a hornet's nest. Puff puff. Along with the awe-inspiring roar, the T-dolphin, who was close at hand, and the dagger clenched in his hand, stabbed out like a frenzy. However, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times no matter what. How the T-dolphin attacked frantically, the dragon feather in front of him was like an untouchable catkin. That made him violent like a torrential rain is useless at all. No, no, it's impossible, why can't my attack hit you? The T-Dolphin roared frantically. 6 types of profound truth. Heavy iron slash. Ohm. The sound of the knife chirping sounded like thunder. The muscles of the right hand of the T-Dolphin swelled like a rock, even more powerful strength erupted. The next moment, without any bells and whistles, with a tenacious posture, he slashed towards Long Yu by the waist. Bang! A thunderous explosion resounded. Under the unrelenting collision, huge winds and waves and sand and dust swept away. The rocky ground beneath his feet shattered as if overwhelmed. Chapter 608, Red Thunder. Did it hit? The violent scene shook everyone, and before he could think about it, he hurriedly looked at the battlefield. The scene of entering the goal made the pupils of everyone in the field shrink again. Long Yu had his eyes tightly closed, but they had already opened. The incomparably fierce slash did not hit the target, but the 2 fingers covered with black scales caught the blade without any deviation. Looking at this precise and unusual counterattack, as well as the figure that fluttered in the wind like catkins just now, the scene fell into a brief silence. Ghost Spider couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva and said, "Mr. Zephyr, this is not Mr. Garp, he has shown the means of predicting the future. Just with the simple 6-style paper painting, it actually displays a method similar to the natural devil fruit, and the physical attack is ineffective." Yes. Zephyr suddenly woke up and said, "I didn't expect that this kid not only achieved the ultimate in the 6 forms, but also reached an extraordinary level in his domineering practice. The means of predicting the future, looking at the Navy headquarters, there are very few people who do this kind of thing. Next, I'm afraid the T-Dolphin will lose." When these words fell, everyone's nerves were suddenly tense. The T-Dolphin also woke up suddenly in the absence of attention. Clenched tightly in his hand suddenly shook, intending to break free from Long Yu's tightly clamped left hand. However, before he succeeded, he saw a playful smile spread quickly on Long Yu's face. "Sorry, I caught you. Originally, this move was just a conjecture, but with Lieutenant General T-Dolphin, as an opponent, I can use it without any scruples." Long Yu smiled warmly. The 5 fingers of the right hand were suddenly clenched, the scales quickly turned black, and the next moment, blood-red mysterious patterns spread rapidly. With the help of the powerful physical load given by the semi-dragon transformation, coupled with the combination of the domineering of the armed color, the limit of the power of thunder and lightning that can be accumulated is quickly raised to the extreme. It can be said that at this moment, Long Yu used this move. Is to copy the method of Luffy's 4th gear completely. Use domineering to enhance the body's ability to withstand, accumulate thunder and lightning frantically, and form a more powerful move. In an instant, it exploded in one go. Red thunder. I don't know who exclaimed. The crackling red thunder light splattered above the right fist. The air circulating around seemed to be stirred by an invisible big hand, and an indescribable aura quickly opened. T-Pig, hurry up and escape. Zephyr's expression changed drastically, and he roared in a hurry. The violent scene has made the T-Dolphin's nerves long tightened. Feeling this terrifying aura, Cha-Dolphin didn't have time to think about it, and directly abandoned the Tachi in his hand. Ran turned around quickly and ran away. At this moment, he pushed his physical skills and the power of the devil fruit to the extreme. Facing the terrifying aura just now, and the scarlet thunder light, the breath of death swept through the whole body of the T-Dolphin. It can be said that at this moment, for the T-Dolphin, running away is not a shame, but a desire to survive. I said, "Can you be faster than lightning?" The indifferent voice sounded behind the T-Dolphin. Facing the words like maggots on the toe bone, the T-Dolphin's nerves were suddenly tense to the extreme. An absurd thought flashed through his mind. The speed he is proud of, can it be faster than thunder? The air is shaking, and the T-Dolphin subconsciously enhances the domineering armament and the ability of the devil fruit to the extreme. The death feeling wrapped around him like an invisible magic hand behind him. Before he had time to think about it, he suddenly looked back. The red thunder was like a tide. The air that passed along the way, together with the space, seemed to be penetrated. In the face of this lightning-quick strike, it was impossible to hide. 6 types of profound meanings, Sakura and thunder. Bang! One punch. The whole world is like a giant earthquake. The scarlet thunder light under the frantic compression detonated in an instant. The sky in all directions, everything in sight, is occupied by blood. The violent airflow is like a hurricane rolling back. Endless lightning arcs ravage the whole world. Instant, the people present only felt that the vision in front of them was instantly seized. When it was time to react, the airflow that circulated in the heaven and the earth gradually calmed down. On the battlefield, the 2 figures were still standing in place. Black scales and scarlet patterns, still maintains the posture of punching. However, this punch rubbed the T-Dolphin's head. The pier behind him, there are 5 naval warships moored on the coast, 2 of which have disappeared without a trace. The reefs in the distance, as well as the sea surface, were directly blown into a vacuum with one punch. With a radius of 1,000 meters has completely turned into a deep funnel pit. Punch is so terrifying. Looking at this scene, not to mention the Navy soldiers, together with Zephyr and other veterans, couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. I'm sorry, this is the first time I meet someone who can fight. I don't know how serious this punch is. Long Yu smiled warmly and withdrew his fist. Chapter 609, Destroyed 2 warships. However, I still destroyed 2 warships. I hope you don't take offense, Mr. Zephyr. The 3-color domineering, like a tide, quickly converged, and the scales covered in the right hand also subsided directly. It can be said that Long Yu is still very satisfied with this punch. According to his inference, it should be able to reach 50% of the power of the king's fist. Of course, this is still deliberately controlled by Long Yu, if the entire pier is covered. There are also 5 warships destroyed, which is not easy for Zephyr to explain. Ahem, Laxus, you're out. As long as there are no casualties and 2 warships are destroyed in a mere amount, the authority of this old man can still be offset. Zephyr suddenly came back to his senses. Taking a look, he was completely lost, and the T-Dolphin, who was standing in the same place like a statue, sighed inwardly. As a former admiral of the Navy and a chief instructor for decades, as long as he is not blind, he can know clearly. This battle, Long Yu completely defeated the T-Dolphin with a punch of unknown importance. However, for Zephyr, what he cared about most was the way Long Yu used domineering. The huge pier fell into a dead silence. The sea and the pier disappeared like a big bowl. The people present couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Yuan stared at him, but his face was still full of disbelief. It can be said that this blow was completely beyond their cognition. Especially the Navy soldiers and generals who were originally stationed on the 2 disappearing warships. His face was as pale as white paper. If they happened to be on this boat just now, I'm afraid it's not just the boat that disappeared. And their lives. Punch was so terrifying that even the dignified general candidate Chado was frightened and fled. With this single hand, I am afraid that the voices of dissatisfaction in the Navy will disappear completely. Okay, Ghost Spider, take the T-Dolphin down to rest, and you can help report what's going on here. Zephyr retracted his thoughts and took the lead in ordering. Ghost Spider heard the words, and looked at the crane, didn't say much, and quickly stepped forward to catch the arm of the absent-minded T-Dolphin. Call. T-Dolphin suddenly came to his senses, broke free from the spider's hand, looked at the messy head, and let out a deep breath. Looking back at Long Yu, he said, Laxus, you won this battle, but next time I will give full play to the power of the devil fruit, and then I will be defeated. Abandoning these words, the T-Dolphin didn't give Tautu a second glance, turned around and hurriedly jumped away to the warship moored in the distance. The face of this public defeat, it can be said that the T-Dolphin can't wait to find a dog now. Hole in it, let alone stay here. Seeing this scene, Zephyr sighed heavily and said, Laxus has caused you trouble this time. However, I want to know, did you activate your body with chi just now to increase your attack power? These words fall, no matter. It was Zephyr, or Tautu and Crane who were standing beside him, their gazes swept around and landed on Long Yu. In the application of domineering, in addition to seeing domineering, and armed domineering, there is another way of using it, which uses chi to activate itself to increase its own reflexes, endurance, and speed. However, this method is in great demand for domineering. Ordinary people, relying on their own domineering, can achieve the level of domineering with full body armor, and the level of heart network induction is already very good. Not to mention, the so-called domineering activation. Unless the amount of domineering you have can really reach this level of random spending. Otherwise everything is bullshit. That's it. Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose. This kind of method, in fact, in the instant full level system, under the 3-color domineering full level, there is no extension method that appears. Tried to develop a trick with years of combat experience and knowledge from the Naruto world. Of course, the most important thing is that in the original book, Long Yu has seen the results of Rayleigh's training Luffy. It can be said that all of this is absolutely indispensable. It's really domineering and activated. It seems that the old man still underestimates you. Zephyr's expression couldn't help changing, and he immediately patted Long Yu's shoulder with a smile. Actually, this time I'm here in person. In addition to seeing you, I also plan to invite you to join the Navy boot camp in advance. Invitation to draw. The ghost spider's face changed slightly, and said, Mr. Zephyr, have you forgotten your bet with Lord Laxus and General Akainu? Now you have rashly invited your Excellency Laxus to join the Navy recruit camp in advance. I am afraid it's a bit inappropriate. Speaking of this, the ghost spider's face couldn't help but a little bit of apology. Lord Laxus, don't get me wrong, I don't have any other malicious intentions, just this matter. Hee, Lieutenant General Ghost Spider, don't be nervous, I know Teacher Zephyr's intentions. Long Yu laughed dryly. I think Teacher Zephyr is worried that after I defeat Jack, the beasts Kaido will follow me, and even more will take action against me, and want to invite me to join the Navy recruit camp in advance, as a new instructor, to take this opportunity. Bless you. However, I won't agree. About Zephyr's thoughts early on. Chapter 610, Golden Phone Bug. Should be said that Long Yu had already guessed the thoughts of Kaido, even the beasts. However, Laxus is only one of Long Yu's identities. The strength of the ontology has been restored to the level of the eternal kaleidoscope. Long Yu believed that if he really faced the hundreds of beasts Kaido, he would definitely not be afraid. As for the blessing of the Navy, for Long Yu, this will only be a layer of restraint. Laxus, you don't want to. Zephyr's face changed suddenly. If you're worried about the Akainu, I can help you deal with it. I still have some say in this old man's old face. If it doesn't work, then count the old guy in the Warring States period, and if it doesn't work, pull Garp into the water too. Looking at Zephyr, the admiral and the naval hero opened their mouths and pulled into the water. The people present were stunned. This step on the horse was for the sake of one person. However, looking around the field, there are only those with stronger strength, who clearly understand the importance of Long Yu to the Navy headquarters. Teacher Zephyr, you really don't need this. Long Yu reluctantly touched the tip of his nose. Kaido is strong, but I'm not weak either. There is still a voyage that belongs to me, so you don't need to worry. If nothing happens and it's getting late, I should leave too. Was silent, looking at Long Yu, who insisted on his own way, and sighed helplessly. Laxus, since you have made up your mind, I will not persuade me much. If there is anything, use this phone bug to contact me. Our naval headquarters will give you the greatest strength support. The golden phone worm Dragon Feather couldn't help but raise his brows, no doubt looking a little surprised. Even the surrounding Navy soldiers and generals were no exception. In their perception, this is the most advanced communication encryption phone bug. Contact the Navy headquarters within 24 hours and any time period in an emergency. Looking at the Navy, owning this golden phone is an existence in an important position. Laxus, you can take it. Zephyr will eat and sleep. Crane rarely spoke. Long Yu couldn't force it. He answered the phone and said, "Thank you, Teacher Zephyr, and see you in 3 months." Ain, smoker, let's leave these words behind. Long Yu turned around and left. However, as soon as he took a half step, he saw an unexpected figure standing in front of him. "You're not going to leave like this." Tautu smiled sweetly and took it out with backhand. A set of plainclothes robes, handed over and said, "Stinky brother, come back alive, elder sister is still waiting for you to defeat me in kendo. It's not that simple to chase after me. God, what did I see? This is a confession in disguise. If it were me, I'd already be on my way. Che, you have such a strong strength, do you still wear a sailor suit?" The scene exploded at once. Facing Tautu's rare initiative, it was far beyond the understanding of the Navy. Only thing that makes people feel fortunate is that the T-Dolphin is not here, otherwise I am afraid that I will fall to the ground with anger. "Thank you, see you in 3 months, I hope you don't waste this fruit." Long Yu smiled warmly. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he reached out and rubbed Tautu's head again. However, this time Tautu didn't dodge, looked at Long Yu's hand and shrugged slightly. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, he gladly accepted Long Yu's head-touching kill. With Long Yu's departure, the oppressive atmosphere that enveloped the port was dissipated with the wind. "Okay, everyone, pack up and escort Drought Jack from the Beast Pirates back to the Navy headquarters. Next, it's a challenge for us." Zephyr withdrew his gaze, looked at the 3 remaining warships in the port, and gave orders in a deep voice. He was bragging just now that it was harmless to have 2 ships destroyed by Long Yu. However, really speaking, the 2 advanced warships are equally important to the Navy that has been losing one after another. When I thought about it, I had to explain to the Warring States report when I went back, but my temples were still swollen. "Peach Rabbit, you seem to be in a good mood, but I hope you don't suddenly become overwhelmed and do anything out of the ordinary." He glanced at Tautu and said, "That kid, it's not as simple as I imagined. The most important thing, now that the strength of the headquarters is seriously lost, you accidentally got this magical beast devil fruit, I hope you can master it as soon as possible." "Sister Crane, what do you mean by that?" Tautu regained his senses, glared at the crane and said, "Do you think that I will definitely lose to that guy? Don't forget, I now have the fruit of the Fire Phoenix mythical beast, and I can try to hit the position of the Admiral of the Navy. After 3 months, I will make that guy impress. Want to see? You still think about it, how to explain when you go back, you left the fleet without authorization. Ah sister can't you help me?" Chapter 611. Reject Kaido's invitation. No. 3 days later, with the news of the Shambered Islands, it spread quickly. The Express newspaper issued by the big news Morgans, but spread throughout the Great Waterway and the 4 seas. The New World, aboard the Moby Dick. Whitebeard looked at the newspaper in his hand and frowned involuntarily. "Dad, is your expression because of that? Laxus, who defeated Jack Drought, one of the 3 disasters of the Beast Pirates, and is known as a naval supernova." Marco was also holding the newspaper and obviously saw the news on the same side. "Marco, you should know very well that this Jack is not an ordinary person. He was able to defeat that lunatic. That's not an easy thing." Diamond Yoja couldn't help but chime in. Both are one of the 4 emperors, and Whitebeard is the head of the 4 emperors. Obviously, there is no less conflict with Kaido that lunatic. It can be said that as the main force of the Whitebeard pirates, they often fight against the 3 calamities. At present, this old opponent was actually defeated by a newcomer who belongs to the strength of the Navy. For these old people, it is undoubtedly a bit embarrassing. "Marco, I think you should find out about that kid." Whitebeard spoke suddenly. For a time, on the huge deck, thousands of pairs of eyes all locked on Marco's body. Feeling the gaze from all around, Marco's face flashed a hint of hesitation, and then he sighed. Dad, I know you are doing this to find a new stepping stone for Ace. However, after my investigation, this kid, like the great skeleton demon, has an unknown origin, as if he jumped out of a rock. The first time I found out, it was in Rog Town, East China Sea. I had a fight with the General Aokiji, and the second time I played, I already killed the sand crocodile. Speaking of this, Marco's face became more worried, and he said, now he has appeared for the third time, and he has defeated Jack Drought. The strength he possesses is still unknown. If Dad rashly arranges him to be Ace's opponent, I am worried. Marco, are you worried that Ace will lose? Whitebeard said in a deep voice. It seems you still don't understand one thing. Ace is the son of that guy Roger, and even my Whitebeard. With the support of the two of us, I don't believe he will fail. Don't forget, he is currently receiving training from Rayleigh. As long as he controls the three-color domineering, his strength will far exceed that kid. The low voice, rolling like thunder, echoed on the deck for a long time and could not be dispelled. Go. Faced with this scene, Marco's expression sank, and he hesitated to speak. A low piercing sound suddenly sounded. It was soon seen that Ace's jet boat was rapidly approaching the sea in the distance. He himself had a volley and landed on the deck. Dad, I brought you wine. Sat on the deck with a huge jug on his back and said, Brother Marco, thank you for worrying. However, Dad is right. As the son of Whitebeard, I will definitely clear the obstacles for Dad and help Dad become the Pirate King. As for Laxus, I will defeat him with my own hands, and then go to the skeleton demon. Smile appeared on Whitebeard's face, looking at Ace who suddenly appeared, and these ambitious words. Immediately, he grabbed the jug, raised his head and took a sip, then laughed and said, good wine. Ace is right, as my Whitebeard's son, you must have this kind of confidence. Defeat the so-called Navy supernova, and step on the skeleton, they are just a stepping stone for our Whitebeard pirates. Looking at the Whitebeard who burst out laughing. Marco sighed helplessly and said, Ace, you can have this kind of idea, no matter what. It's my father, or us, and I feel relieved. However, if you want to fight against him, I'm afraid you still have to expect that kid to survive in Kaido's hands. I heard that the kid has rejected Kaido's invitation. Ace was stunned when he refused Kaido's invitation, and then said with a smile, Brother Marco, isn't it good that he refused? If he can become a general, and I will defeat him again, it will be a shame for the Navy headquarters. And then step on the so-called 5 Emperor Skull Demons. At that time, the prestige of our Whitebeard pirates will rise. Looking at Ace with a fiery face, Marco couldn't help but be silent. For Ace, who has Roger's son and the first-person status of supernova. At the beginning, Marco, the think tank of the Whitebeard pirates, also valued Ace as a fresh blood just like Whitebeard. Pity that the style in front of him undoubtedly made him a little uncertain. In particular, when Whitebeard chose Laxus as Ace's new stepping stone, Marco was obviously a little uneasy. In case, it's the same as facing the skeleton demon. It's Waterloo before the fight. Chapter 612, Battle. For Ace, who is still a rookie, it was a nightmare. Grumpy. The voice of the phone bug rang suddenly, breaking the atmosphere on the deck. They could react, a hurried voice rang inside the phone bug. Captain Marco, something is wrong. Kaido, the beast, led his troops to attack the fleet of the Navy escorting Drought Jack, and they fought in the waters of Sass. What? Marco and the others' faces changed dramatically. They had expected that Kaido would not stop there. But I never imagined that it would attack the naval fleet so quickly. USU, NASA's sea area, isn't it in the red-haired territory? What is the reaction of that guy, in case the Navy takes this route and deliberately makes the 4 emperors inflict internal friction? Kaido, that lunatic, will never let it go. Marco asked eagerly. of their 4 emperors is the main factor that checks and balances the naval headquarters. Don't forget, there is also the most mysterious world government behind the headquarters. It is the newly emerging force with the revolutionary army that is entangled. However, the Tianlong people can control the world government for more than 800 years. They do not believe that they have no means to suppress the bottom of the box. It can be said that Marco, the think tank of the Whitebeard pirates, still hopes that the balance of power of the 4 emperors can be maintained. The 4 emperors, red-haired Shanks, seems to have received information. Under the battle between Kaido of the Beasts and the generals accompanying the ship, they tyrannically intervened in the round. In the end, Kaido of the Beasts took Drought Jack away. Of the phone bug came with a hasty reply. Hearing these words, Marco secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The red-haired stinky boy still likes to be an ugly person so much. I didn't expect that he went to the East China Sea and not only lost an arm, but his strength has improved so much. Whitebeard said, I really doubt, what the hell is the East China Sea? Not only can I go to Luogia, but also the Crazy Carp, and now even the red-haired boy has to go there. If there is a chance, I will really go for a walk. In the original book, the East China Sea is called the Weakest Sea, and as Bai Zi said, it is also the land of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. If the identity of the Revolutionary Army Dragon is also exposed, the Golden Lion Shiji, the same hidden thing, will also be exposed. This Weakest Sea will become the Sea of Legends. Dad, don't forget I come out in the East China Sea. Josh said with a smile. However, this time the Navy handed Jack over to Kaido too. Isn't that the only face left as well? Lost. Light. Marco smiled dryly. Joes, you're still thinking about things too simply. That guy in the Warring States period, but the old fox, chose the route of the Sass Sea area, just to go to the red-haired temperament. If you simply meet Kaido, it will be a deadly battle. If the red-haired guy comes forward, the Navy will be able to make a name for himself. If you meet 2 4 emperors, you will retreat. This way, I lose a lot of face. Facing Marco's analysis, the people present nodded silently in agreement. Marco is right. Whitebeard also nodded in agreement and said, however, Kaido, that lunatic, has already rescued Jack, then next, that kid Laxus may have a headache. I really hope that he can survive in the hands of Kaido, so that Ace will have a chance to reach the top. Dressrosa, on the other hand. The King's Highland. A figure swept through the void and finally fell into the Imperial City. Young master, you are finally back. Who was leaning on crutches with a snot in his nose, first looked at the figure on the ground. Toripo, looking at your impatience, it seems that the matter is clear. Doflamingo squatted on the chair, and said with a smile. As the Underground King, he is also one of the 4 emperors, the Kaido Alliance of the Beasts, and he also masters the most core secrets of the Tianlong people. It can be said that Doflamingo has a huge right to speak in this sea. Young master, Virgo has sent back the news. Toripo took out a stack of information and handed it to Doflamingo. Oh, that kid still has such a bet with Akainu. Doflamingo frowned, looking a little surprised. Lien Zephyr and Warring States have both been identified as candidates for the next chief instructor of the Naval Recruit Battalion, and they have extraordinary physical training methods. It seems that this time the Navy has a great presence. Speaking of which, a playful smile flashed on Doflamingo's face and said, however, the devil fruit that Peach Rabbit really seems to have flowed out of our hands. If Kaido's lunatic finds out, we have the magical beast devil fruit, and if we didn't trade with him first, I'm afraid that guy will come to us and commit suicide. Toribo's expression changed in response to these remarks. They, the Don Quixote family, often deal with the beast's Kaido, and of course they know how serious this guy with poor wine tastes, once he drinks too much. Chapter 613. These are monsters. Young master, what should we do? That kid took away our devil fruit with his bare hands. Toribo said in a low voice. Being able to become the Underground King, Doflamingo's means are also not comparable to ordinary people. Even the eyeliner can be placed on the Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters. If I hadn't underestimated Luffy with the pig's foot halo, I'm afraid he wouldn't be defeated. That kid and the Great Skeleton Demon are both guys of unknown origin. I heard that there was a meeting in Alabasta. You try to check if they are related. Doflamingo said with a dry smile. As for that guy, to get our devil fruit, of course he needs to pay some price, but we can't come forward easily and let others go. Young master, you are right, we can get to this point, and we need to be careful in every step. Toropo quickly agreed. That guy has already gone to sea. I don't think it will come in handy this time. Otherwise, it's totally not worth wasting that devil fruit. On the Great Waterway, 3 huge pirate ships are surrounding a sloop. However, there was a commotion on the huge deck of the ship. Run away, these are monsters. Mad, this is a total lunatic. Paralyzed, in the sea where the sea kings are spread, all the people who can drag the boat forward are monsters. That bastard actually proposed to snatch this ship, the guy on that ship, but the person Kaido was looking for, defeated the naval supernova who offered a reward of 1 billion, Drought Jack. Quote. Frightened cries sounded one after another in the pirate group. 3 pirate captains who took the lead and offered a reward of more than 50 million, now have the heart to die. However, above this sea, there is a place for them to escape. Only the bow ran to the stern. Standing at the end of the deck, looking at the blue sky ahead, the endless dangerous sea was hidden. Hundreds of pirates suddenly stopped and hurriedly turned their heads to look behind them. Bang! A figure broke out of the water and landed on the deck. Looking up a little, the wet clothes and the green turban on the wearer's head looked extremely unsightly. This horse is green and flying. During this time, except for swimming and sea kings, I forgot all about it, the taste is gone. Zoro raised his head suddenly, a dim light flashed in his eyes, and the next moment he shot suddenly. Blazing flame flying dragon. Ohm! The cyan blade is as crazy as a frenzy. Gushing out. A single strike, it turned into a fierce training, like a flying dragon flying across the sky, swept the entire pirate ship directly. Bang! In the endless deep sea, the wet Sanji rose straight from the sky. Fiery flame flashed across the ice covered by the drooping hair. At the moment when his right foot was suddenly half raised, a fiery flame ignited. The devil's foot is the finishing touch. Poof! When I stepped on it with one step, ripples appeared in the air. Sanji, like a shooting star, smashed down towards another pirate ship. The right foot wrapped in hot flames, without any fancy. Towards the deck below, the force splits down. Bang! 2 dull collision sounds came out like a bang. Of the pirates on the third ship changed dramatically in an instant. The first pirate ship was cut in half, and the second pirate ship was kicked to pieces. The power of one blow is so terrifying. Is this a dream? 3 Speedbone Balloon Giant Pistol. The belated cry sounded again, and the huge shadow in the sky quickly expanded. In an instant, the ships below were shrouded. The next moment, there is no trace of fancy. The huge fist quickly enlarged in the pupils of the pirates. Accompanied by a dull explosion, the third pirate ship was smashed directly. Suddenly screams resounded throughout the sea. Broken wooden boards spread all over the sea. Witnessing this scene, the 3 of Smalls who stayed on the deck of the ship had a trace of unwillingness on their faces. You don't need to be unconvinced. Next time you encounter a pursuer, you can make a move. Long Yu sat on the chair and watched all this. Has been a month and a half since I left on the Chambord Islands. Due to his blatant rejection of Kaido's solicitation, Long Yu often encountered some small-eyed pirate groups during this period of time. However, as pirates who have never been to the New World, they have absolutely no idea what the difference in strength is. Moreover, there is no way to make up for this gap even in numbers. An existence that can defeat 1 billion pirates with a bounty cannot be dealt with by 10 pirates with a bounty of over 100 million. Of course, not all the pirates who came to look for death were the pursuers sent by Kaido. There are also other pirates who don't have long eyes. Chapter 614, You Are Still Too Young. Attracted by Long Yu, a single-mast merchant ship, and wanted to carry out the act of killing people and stealing goods. Unfortunately, every time they get close, they will find a strange phenomenon. 2 people and 1 bear were pulling the boat, and 3 people stood on the deck and stared at them with fiery faces. Felt as if the identity of the prey had been reversed. However, what made them flee the most was to identify, or during this period of time, Long Yu's reputation as a Navy supernova. Teacher, after these 3 pirate ships are killed, I don't know when the next time will be. Smog couldn't help but say. His appearance does seem to be older than Long Yu, but during this time, I saw Long Yu give Zoro 3-3, careful. The training method developed. After the strength of the 3 people 3 rapidly improved, Smog's teacher was very happy. Completely eloquent stance. Senior Smog, Teacher Laxus said that this kind of irrelevant battle should be left to me. Ain suddenly spoke up. With her a month and a half ago, the depths of Ain's eyes now have a hint of tenacity. There was even more of an unpleasant smell all over his body. Okay, brother Smoker, these little shrimp hairs really aren't that important. Zoro rolled over in the void and landed on the deck, with a fiery flash in the depths of his eyes. Don't forget, a month and a half is up, and we will go through the second stage of training next. In the second stage of the training deck, everyone on the training deck suddenly became hotter. After the first stage of training, they became more interested in the second stage of training. If I had to use one word to describe it, that's frenzy. Teacher, are we going to start now? Luffy hurried forward and said. I can't wait to become stronger, become a powerful pirate, and become the Pirate King. Luffy, if you say that, be careful that your grandfather comes to beat you again. As a Navy, Smoker gave Luffy a helpless look, and couldn't help but spit it out. Luffy is not a pirate since he got on the ship. But it also gives them a feeling of being in the original. You Smoker, do you want to fight again? Come on, whoever is afraid of who. Looking at them, they hugged them again. Yin sighed helplessly, stopped in front of the 2 and said, if you don't want to participate in the training, get out of the way, don't hinder us from the second stage. These words fell, Luffy and Smoke instantly felt the murderous gazes cast around them, and even their scalps became numb. Okay, seeing the 2 of them still. I'm glad I'm so excited. Long Yu smiled warmly. However, I hope that you can maintain this attitude in the next second stage of training. Beppo, bring up what I have prepared. Got it, teacher. These words fell. Bebo, who had lost a lot of weight, quickly turned around and entered the cabin. The huge deck fell into an inexplicable silence. Everyone's eyes turned and locked on the door of the cabin. They eagerly wanted to know what the second stage of training that Long Yu had prepared was exactly. Squeak. The closed cabin door was pushed open in response. The figure of Bebo, who was obviously thinner, reappeared in everyone's pupils. However, when they entered the scene, their pupils suddenly contracted. Teacher, aren't these broken Halu stone handcuffs? How did you take them out? Luffy couldn't help but ask. These words fell, everyone's nerves were shaken, and their eyes were locked on Long Yu's body. If they remember correctly, these sea tower stone handcuffs were obtained on the Chambord Islands not long ago. Yes, this is Halu stone. Long Yu patted the dust on his body and suddenly stood up. It's also the second stage of training for your 3 devil fruit abilities. Using sea tower stones to train devil fruit abilities is simply whimsical to outsiders. However, as a reincarnated Long Yu, he clearly remembered it. Original book, Luffy and Kid were imprisoned in a rabbit bowl in Wano country, wearing Kylo stone handcuffs. Still able to fight and compete. And, Kid, who had been imprisoned for a long time, even after wearing the Halushi handcuffs, was able to pass the eyes of many artificial devil fruit people. Slip out of the rabbit bowl. This is enough to show that the seafloor stone has a restraining effect on the devil fruit ability. But this kind of restraint can be resisted with its own strength. It is precisely because of this speculation that Long Yu set this as the training plan for the second stage. Mr. Laxus, can we still move when we wear this thing? Smoker's cheek muscles couldn't help twitching. Faced with this question, all the people present were obviously holding this idea, their eyes turned and locked on Long Yu's body. After all, in their perception, Hailu Stone is the nemesis of devil fruit abilities. Oh, you are still too young. Long Yu laughed dryly, and directly picked up a Hailu Stone handcuff from Bei Bo's hand, and caught it. Chapter 615, The Real Sea Floor Stone. The violent scene made Smoker and others nervous all of a sudden. However, in their eyes, Dragon Feather, who is also a devil fruit ability, did not soften to the ground. Isn't it weird? And said, in the usual perception, those with the ability of devil fruit will be restrained by Hailu Stone, but the restrained power is only devil fruit. Although, it also affects the body, but if the strength reaches a certain level, the restrictions on Hailushi's own strength and three-color domineering will be infinitely weakened. Having said that, Long Yu's right 5 fingers were slightly clenched, and his dark, ink-like armament color quickly covered his entire arm. With a sudden step, the whole person disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Appearing again, he has come to Soren's back. The violent scene shook everyone's nerves. No, it should be said that this has subverted their cognition. In their cognition, once the devil fruit ability person touches the seafloor stone, it is just fish on the cutting board. Isn't it a surprise? Long Yu smiled and handed the Hailu Stone to Luffy. When he took it subconsciously, his whole body fell to the ground like a deflated balloon. No way, I feel like I can't lift my strength. Zoro, save me quickly. Luffy said weakly. This is indeed the real Hailushi. If it is said, they were still suspicious of the Hailushi handcuffs in Long Yu's hands just a moment ago. So now Luffy's attitude has undoubtedly broken the last trace of doubt in their hearts. This world, those who really have the ability to fruit can ignore the influence of Hailu Stone to a certain extent. Of course, only Long Yu knew that some of them were only dragon-slaying magic given by the system, not some kind of phantom beast thunder dragon fruit. Mention the seafloor stone, even this can't play a role on him. He did this just to make Smoker, Mr. Laxus, say, as long as we get used to the seafloor stone and restrain our body, does that mean that our own strength has broken through the limit? Greg couldn't help but ask. Once you can do what the teacher does, under the restraint of Hailushi's ability, you can still fight, is it? Can claim the position of the general. Quote. An inexplicable urgency in the hurried voice. As a member of the Navy, the general is the most important evaluation criterion for their strength. Teacher, can I become the Pirate King? Luffy also hurriedly uttered a word weakly. Looking at the two ambitious guys, Long Yu gave a white look and said, you really are generals in One Piece or street cabbage, can you get it by playing tricks? However, if you can successfully pass this training, I think it will not be too far from the goal. Next, I have prepared 5 handcuffs with a 55 standard seafloor stone content. You should start with 20% and try to get used to it within a month. I know, teacher. Smoker and Luffy hurriedly agreed. After Long Yu motioned Bei Bo to assign the Hailushi handcuffs, he looked at Ai Yin who was beside him, and said, have you not written down the key points yet? Actually, these training methods are easy to replicate as long as you master the method of cutting seafloor stones. Most importantly, you are unique students with great potential and resilience. Having said that, Long Yu rubbed Ai Yin's head and said, there is still a long way to go, and you need to master it yourself. Ah! Ai Yin suddenly woke up, and after closing the hand letter in his hand, there was a strange look on his pretty face. Teacher, what you said makes people feel like you will leave at any time, you will not leave us suddenly one day. In Ain's eyes, the invitation from the chief instructor of the Navy headquarters, the recruit battalion, is a supreme honor. Only one among the Navy who, in a sense, can hold the same important position as the Marshal. It can be said that no member of the Navy can resist this temptation. Haha, this kind of thing is not something you can think of with your little head. Let's try Halu stone training with a purity of 20% first. And fastened a Halu stone handcuff to Aine's wrist. The sudden scene made her body instantly feel like an electric shock. Under the feeling of powerlessness, he stumbled and fell directly into Long Yu's arms. Chapter 616, Ghosts. The softness of the hand and the squeezing of the floating ball made Long Yu's brows involuntarily raise, and he looked into his arms subconsciously. Sitting without confusion, that is impossible for even a saint to do. Ai Yin, you have grown up. Long Yu sighed quietly. Ah, grown up. Aine couldn't help but startled, and said weakly, Teacher, during this period of time with the ship, it was indeed thanks to your care that Aine grew up, but there is still a long way to go before the growth that teacher expects. Ai Yin hopes that the teacher can give more support. Instruct Aine. Looking at the moment, Aine with a sincere face and fiery eyes. And could not help coughing dryly. This rhythm, Ai Yin is undoubtedly misunderstood. However, looking at the Navy, Aine was originally a goddess-like existence. Body and appearance are also first class. If you grow up, I am afraid that the balance is lacking. Of course, Long Yu did not point out this beautiful misunderstanding. Supporting Aine and sitting on the chair beside him, he looked at Zoro and Sanji. This look, immediately, made the muscles of the two of them tense, and they cheered up 12 points. Okay, you don't have to be nervous. The Halushi training method is not useful to you, so I have prepared other trainings for you. Long Yu looked at Sauron lightly. Sauron, I want to know, what do you think of first when you reach the position of the world's #1 swordsman? Thinking of something, Zoro couldn't help being startled, and subconsciously said, Hawkeye Mahawk, only by defeating him can I become the world's #1 swordsman. In the original book, this was Soren's lifelong wish. You were wrong. The simple 3 words came out in a hurry, and Zoro couldn't help but startled. Looking at the indifferent Long Yu, he could not imagine for a moment where he was wrong. It seems that you still don't know where you were wrong. Long Yu said lightly, use your strongest means to attack. As soon as the words of the strongest means fell, everyone present turned their eyes and locked on Long Yu's body, and there was even more fiery in their eyes. It can be said that as long as they boarded this ship, they often learned from each other. But no matter. Is it Zoro or Luffy, they haven't played against Long Yu once. If it is said that who is the opponent they most want to challenge, then it is Long Yu. Teacher, I've been waiting for your words for a long time. Soren's face showed undisguised fiery, and said, I don't know why you said I was wrong, but I will let you know that this period of time is not the first time. When we meet, there is no backhand. Is it? There was a smile on Long Yu's face, and he said, I allow you to release the weight on your body and use all your strength. If you can touch the corner of my clothes, I can take you to see Hawkeye. Hawk-eyed Zoro was stunned for a moment, and then his face showed joy. He grabbed Shuigo and Sanshi Guiche with his backhand on his waist, and said, Teacher, you said that, but it set me on fire. Originally, this move was intended to be used to cut Luffy, but now in order to see Hawkeye, it seems that it has to be used in advance. Bang bang bang. The sound of several heavy objects landing suddenly sounded. The weight on Sauron fell on the boat. Feeling the lightness that he had not seen for a long time, Sauron couldn't help taking a deep breath. The tense muscles slowly bulged like a rock, and under the prominent blue veins, a huge force swam away quickly on Sauron's body. It can be said that at this moment, Sauron clearly felt that his own strength had improved several levels. A wave of fighting intent swept through the depths of his pupils quickly. He bit the last word with Daoyi with his backhand, and after tying the turban tightly, he said, Teacher, be careful, don't let me touch the corner of your shirt. Otherwise, in the eyes of you, it will be a bit incapable of stepping down from the stage. The small voice was slurped out of Soren's mouth, and the moment he suddenly raised his head, no matter what. It was his hands, or the words he dao in his mouth, which were quickly covered by the domineering aura of armament. Looking at this scene, Long Yu raised his brows involuntarily and said with a smile, I didn't expect that you would wake up even armed and domineering, but if this is your trump card, it will disappoint the teacher. Dasky, since you're back, lend me Shiyu. Got it, teacher. Dusky's voice suddenly sounded. Soon I saw her, turning over from the boat moored next to her and landing on the deck. Shiyu in her hand was directly handed over to Long Yu. Looking at Dusky, who resembled Guina, Zoro was stunned at first, and in the depths of his eyes, there was a flash of determination. An indescribable aura, centered on Sauron, spread rapidly. Ghost Chi. Long Yu felt this breath, met Soren's line of sight, and said, do it. Simple 3 words, hesitantly. Whose muscles were already tense to the extreme, moved suddenly. The snow held in both hands, and Sandai Onikiru, turned quickly like a windmill. 9 mountains and 8 seas, those who do not have no self. Whispering in a low voice, mixed with an awe-inspiring taste, the ghostly aura that originally came out of the body, at this moment, quickly climbed up. When these words were finished, those present clearly knew that Soren's breath would rise to the extreme. However, this idea had just emerged, and the next moment, Dusky's voice suddenly sounded. Chapter 617, Just Lost. You lose. The inexplicable words made Sauron look slightly startled, and the movements in his hands also showed a slight stagnation. Still waiting for him to react. An awe-inspiring death breath swept through the body like a hurricane. The golden light was like a tidal wave, as fast as thunder, and instantly captured Soren's sight. No, it should be said that everyone just felt the flower in front of their eyes in the moment when the pores of the body stood up, as if they had walked through the gate of hell. Senses, the sound of explosions from the sea in the distance had already come with a bang. From the sky poured down like a torrential rain, making everyone on the deck wet. There was no time to think about it. Everyone's eyes swept around, hurriedly crossed Sauron, and landed on the sea surface of several hundred meters. Blood was constantly rolling out. That was lurking in the sea, waiting for an opportunity to riot, was beheaded and killed. Has been split, the sea is still pouring. Looking at this terrifying scene, a ridiculous word flashed in everyone's mind. Too fast. I don't know if I'm about to be beheaded. I lost. In Zoro's hands had already stopped. Looking back at the sea that was gradually returning to calm, his face was full of disbelief. Thinking of that swearing rhetoric just now, I can't wait to find a dog hole to burrow into. Just lost. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Mention Zoro. Everyone who is full of blood and has the idea of fighting against Long Yu is no exception. In their eyes, Zoro challenged Long Yu, and he would definitely lose. However, the speed of this defeat is too fast. So fast that people have a feeling of being caught off guard, as if there is a basin of cold water pouring down on it. Is this the gap? Dasky, thank you for your knife. Long Yu backhanded Shidasichi and looked at Zoro, who was still full of disbelief. After this period of time, after Long Yu's training like a seedling, Zoro has indeed become stronger. However, in the original book, Sauron a year ago was not the one who opened up 2 years later. Old teacher, me, why did I lose? Zoro woke up suddenly, and hurriedly asked, why can't I even take a single move? These words fell. Everyone's nerves suddenly tightened, and their eyes locked on Long Yu's body. During this period of time, for Soren's monster-like training tenacity and perseverance, there was also an improvement in strength. They are all clear. Chew. Now that it is said that you will lose, it will inevitably be difficult for people to accept. I don't know much about Kendo, but my belief in Kendo is fast, and the world's Kendo is only fast and unbreakable. Long Yu looked at Sauron lightly, and said, then what is your Kendo belief? My belief. Sauron was stunned. he has always pursued is to defeat Hokage Mihawk and win the title of the world's #1 swordsman. Never thought about that at all. Looks like you haven't figured this out yet. Long Yu didn't feel any surprise, and continued, your profound meaning may be really powerful, but I hope you will remember what it means to be ruthless. I could kill you 10 times while you were singing. You have to remember one thing, if you can't even figure out your own beliefs, you can't even simplify your swordsmanship. What you cultivate is just a trick, not a killing trick suitable for survival in the sea. Having said that, Long Yu looked up at the sky and said, if you are also involved in the Wafo naval battle in which the Navy encircled and suppressed Walder, and finally faced the huge meteorite that fell from the sky. Perhaps, after you finished singing, what you thought was to cut the meteorite into 2 pieces, but what I want to do is to cut the meteorite into pieces with 1 knife. If it doesn't work with 1 shot, I still have enough time to make the 2nd shot, the 3rd shot, and so on, but do you think you still have time? The slightly long-sounding voice echoed on the huge deck, and there was no way to disperse it for a long time. Regardless of was Zoro, or Luffy and the others, their expressions suddenly changed drastically. There is a specialization in the surgery industry. However, it is necessary to find the right direction and work hard. In the original book, Soren's belief is to cut off. There is nothing in this world that can never be cut, and all power is placed on 1 knife and 2 pieces. It is for this reason that when facing Barrett, facing the meteorite that fell from the sky, Fujitora became helpless. If Hawkeye hadn't shot in time, Sauron would have been wiped out. Thank you, teacher, for your guidance. Deeply, and after regaining his senses, he lay down on the ground, bowed his head and bowed to Long Yu. The face of this preaching, Sauron has no way to refute. At least, he believes that he has already risen several levels, and even Long Yu can't stop him. Okay, the training starts now, you get up first. Long Yu said lightly. He knew very well that teaching this kind of thing would stop there. Sometimes talking too much can backfire. Chapter 618, Pirate Ship. Teacher, I got the clock in a nearby tavern, but they said that the island is evil. Dusky took out a recording hour hand with his backhand and said, it only takes half a day to reach the destination here. Teacher, where are you going? Luffy's eyes suddenly lit up, and he said, is there anything delicious? For Luffy's questioning, the people present may not be foodies. But in the face of Long Yu's next destination, he was obviously very concerned. After all, during this period of time, they had been pursued many times by the pirates under the command of the beast Kaido, and all the perpetrators would be sunk in the future. However, it is less than a month and a half away from the battle with Admiral Akainu. If you continue to sail, you may lose time. Don't worry, this time, I'm going to find the 3rd student who gambles with Akainu. Long Yu smiled and patted the dust on his body, and glanced at the recording hour hand in his hand. The 3rd person present was startled. Long time, they thought that in the gambling battle with Akainu, Long Yu would be among the crowd on board and select enough members for the gambling battle. Never occurred to me that Long Yu had already chosen the 3rd person. Teacher, I can actually play. Smog couldn't help but speak. However, as soon as these words fell, Long Yu quickly shook his head and refused. I said that I would not choose people from the Navy headquarters to fight. If I adopt you, I will break my word. Long Yu said lightly. What's more, the 3rd person I want to choose has something to do with Soren's training. If Sauron can defeat the 3rd person, his strength is enough to be called a great swordsman. Teacher, what opponent did you choose for me? Sauron was stunned. Originally, he was still immersed in failure. Never occurred to me that I would have follow-up training. Okay, cheer up, so what kind of opponent? You will understand when you see it. Long Yu patted Zoro's shoulder with a smile, looked at Dasichi and said, let's go now, and try to reach your destination before dark. I know, teacher. After Dusky agreed, he said, the training of Lee, Zoro, Sanji, and Beppo is temporarily suspended, and we try to arrive before night. Got it. With the sound of everyone's answer falling, the single-mast boat quickly chose the right direction and rode the wind and waves away. Other hand, not far from the Fossa Sea, a huge island port. As a pirate. The transfer station, the huge wharf, gathered 7 or 8 pirate ships, loading and unloading goods here. On the calm sea, a huge pirate ship quickly emerged in the distance. With the approaching distance, the fast is shortened. The ridiculously huge size of the ship and the pirate flag fluttering in the wind made the expression of the pirates who were carrying the cargo on the pier suddenly change drastically. It is the ship of the 100 Beast Pirates. The huge pirate ship is probably the main ship. A pirate captain was the first to exclaim. Oh my God, isn't the main fleet of the Beast Pirates in the New World? How could it go to the first half of the Great Waterway? How can we mess up? A huge pirate ship is coming against the wind and waves. In just a few minutes, the huge pirate ship with a body length of several hundred meters finally approached the port. The fluttering pirate flag was hunting, and on that deck, except for the dense figures. There is also a huge figure like a hill, holding a wine bowl in his hand. After raising his head and pouring the wine into his mouth, he threw the wine bowl on the port with his backhand. Seeing such a brutal scene, the captain of the pirates who was present narrowed his eyes slightly, looking at the figure with Yangguan on his back. His pupils contracted suddenly, he moved his Adam's apple with difficulty, and swallowed his saliva. There was even someone who cried out in surprise. Yes, it is the New World, Kaido, one of the 4 emperors, the beast, he actually appeared in the first half of the Great Waterway. A pirate exclaimed in surprise. However, he saw a cold light lacing out, passing directly across his throat. At the same time as the blood arrows splashed, Pirate Yuan stared at the person who took his life, and he was the captain of his own brotherhood. Lord Kaido, my iron hook is incapable of discipline, and I've disturbed Lord Kaido. A middle-aged man whose right hand was amputated and connected by an iron hook, took the lead with a thud, and fell to the ground in panic. Our iron hook pirates have been sailing for 7 or 8 years in the first half of the Great Waterway. We are very clear about the nearby waters. If Lord Kaido speaks up, we will definitely go through fire and water. It would be great if your lord could include us and join the 100 Beast Pirates. These words fell, the pirate captains who were present also spoke out and followed suit. These pirate groups, in the first half of the Great Waterway, are offering tens of millions of rewards, and they can be regarded as overlords. But in the second half of the Great Waterway, it's just cannon fodder. Right now, there is a chance to meet Kaido the Beasts and get a chance to join the formation under their command. Of course they don't want to let it go. Chapter 619, Too Outdated. Shut up, don't get in the way of my alcoholism, or I will crush you all to death. Kaido hiccuped and jumped out on the deck. Bang! At the moment when both feet stepped on the pier, a low roar sounded, and the dull force swept down, and the whole pier seemed to be in an earthquake. Faced with this scene, the pirate lying on the ground almost broke his courage, and at this moment, he wanted to bury his head on the floor. However, in the face of all this, Kaido didn't care at all, took a drunken step and walked to the depths of the island. The entourage brought by the ship hurriedly followed, and the rest of the members who stayed on the ship watched Kaido's figure leave, and then looked at the people on the dock with great interest. Boss Kaido, the tavern in front is the source of this information. The Batman who followed Kaido's side was the first to remind him. However, in the face of these words, Kaido didn't answer. He took several steps together, walked to the door of the tavern, and pushed the door open. Head-on attack was a loud and noisy voice, as well as the smell of alcohol coming towards him. As a pirate with a human head pinned to his waist, wine and wealth are their most important gold-burning pits. Have you heard that not long ago, under the banner of the 4 emperors Kaido, known as the most powerful fighting force and one of the 3 major disasters, Drought Jack, the guy who offered a reward of 1 billion, was actually defeated by an unnamed supernova in the Navy headquarters. Within a month and a half, all the pirate formations under the 100 Beast Pirates who were chasing were sunk. I've heard about this too. I heard that there were no less than 10 pirates with a bounty of over 100 million, and some other pirates who didn't have long eyes were also wiped out. It can be said that in just 1.5 days. In time, the naval supernova Laxus has become famous in the first half of the Great Waterway. You said, is the current supernova really that scary? Not long ago, Fire Fist Ace, even the world government, threw out an olive branch and invited him to become Chihuahai. Later, it was rumored that he was included in the ship by Whitebeard to be the captain of the 2nd Division. I heard that the position of the squad leader has been vacant for more than 10 years. I didn't expect that Fire Fist Ace would be selected. Che, what are you talking about now? Fire Fist Ace is too outdated. If I were to say that during this period of time on the sea, the person most similar to Supernova Laxus was Uchiha Ryu, who planned to advance the city's escape and was known as the Great Skeleton Demon. The general has been defeated, and now he has been offered a reward of 2.2 billion Bailey, and has been awarded by the new 5 emperors. From obscurity to the now widespread fame, the Navy supernova is very similar to the Great Skeleton Demon. In time, I am afraid that it will really become an existence like a general, and the beast thief doesn't know how to end it. The messy voices rang out one after another. Huge body like a hill that suddenly pushed the door and entered. The people present obviously did not know it. Who were drunk and planning to leave found that someone was standing in their way. Hey, you guy, why don't you get out of the way quickly? Don't get in the way of this captain. Or else, when you saw this captain, the head with a reward of 90 million was terrified. A drunken pirate raised his head as he spoke, and looked at the mountain in front of him. The sight of his eyes made his pupils shrink suddenly, and the smell of alcohol that was rushing to his forehead disappeared all of a sudden. Yes, it's Kaido. He exclaimed in surprise and spit out uncontrollably in his mouth. Before he could react, the next moment a big hand like a grinding disc directly grabbed his head. The 5 fingers slammed down suddenly. Bang! The crisp sound of bones breaking came out. At this moment, the heads of people who had offered a reward of 90 million were crushed like watermelons on the table of many people. Hot blood splashed down, and the headless corpse smashed directly onto the floor, making a dull crashing sound. The violent scene made the huge tavern fall into a dead silence. Everyone's eyes fell on Kaido, their pupils shrank suddenly, and they all cried out in surprise. Yes, it is Kaido himself. Not for the naval supernova Laxus, who is active near this sea area. These words fell, the expressions of the people present changed drastically. They never imagined that, as one of the 4 dignified emperors, Kaido, the beast that had not been active at sea for more than 10 years, would not have been at all. Now it's even shot for a navy supernova. This means the beginning of a mortal situation. Kill all the people here for me. Kaido spoke suddenly, and after a pause, he added, No, whoever said that. Know that kid, the guy at the next destination will die, and the rest will be killed. If, let me know, this news is false, I will definitely smash him into meat sauce. Chapter 620, The Object of Revenge. In Kaido's hand slammed down to the floor. The dull crash echoed, signaling the start of the killing. Some pirates took their way and fled. Along the way, there were also many pirates who witnessed all this and chose other ports and routes to break through. Facing the arrival of the beasts Kaido in person, in the first half of the Great Channel, this information spread at the fastest speed. For a time, after a lapse of a month and a half, the entire Great Waterway was completely boiled again because of this incident. At the same time, in the Navy headquarters. In the huge conference hall, dozens of admirals gathered here. Faced with this urgent summoning order, it can be said that everyone present had question marks written all over their faces. It's only been 2 months since the last time, the siege of Wald. But that, an emergency call, the people present were all clear about the purpose of the call, and compared to this time, it was obviously different. What's more, the one-time general, who was also on patrol outside, was summoned back urgently. This subverted their cognition. Although, the admirals present were all stationed in the headquarters, which seem to be more free than those stationed in the branch. However, with this freedom comes the problem of patrolling the great waterways to ensure the safety of the allied nations from pirates. Now under the emergency call order, even this most basic task has been temporarily given up. The seriousness of the situation is probably beyond their understanding. Lieutenant General Huo Shaoshan, do you know the reason for this call? A Major General couldn't help asking. On the scene all turned around and locked on Huo Shaoshan's body. However, I soon saw the latter shaking his head and extinguishing the cigar before saying, "Everyone, please be quiet first. I also received a summoning order on a temporary basis, and I don't know the ins and outs of the matter. The three generals have already arrived, and you don't need to." The general turned their eyes again and landed on the corridor. Soon I saw that, walking in front, with a gloomy face, he walked quickly. "Yo-yo, it seems that this time there is a big incident, but don't look at the old man, I don't know what happened." Kazuna crooked his mouth and said vulgarly. "On the way I came here, I also met Marshal of the Warring States period, and he should have arrived too." Spoke, Kazaru sat on his ass. The old physician, as soon as Erlang's legs were raised, he saw Sengoku with a livid look, and rushed over with Garp and Crane. Just arrived at the first seat, before the Warring States sat down, he took the lead and said, "Okay, I believe everyone, I am still at a loss as to why I urgently called everyone this time. Not long ago, Lieutenant General Tautu left his post without permission, causing one of the three disasters of the 100 Beast Pirates to attack the fleet, and let a lieutenant colonel fall into Jack's hands and become a hostage. The only thing that makes people feel fortunate is that Laxus happened to be in the Chambord Islands and beat Drought Jack." Having said that, Sengoku looked around the field and said, "Although Jack of Drought was robbed by Kaido of the beasts on the way to the advanced city prison, it also minimized the damage to our Navy headquarters. However, we still overlooked one thing. As Laxus who defeated Drought Jack, he became the target of the Beast Pirates' revenge. Not long ago, in the first half of the Great Waterway, in the Fossa Sea area, a main battleship of the 100 Beast Pirates appeared. The Navy general who was present with the main battleship of the Beast's Pirates couldn't help but change slightly. Huo Shaoshan was the first to say, "Marshal of the Warring States, the main battleship of the Beast's Pirates has always been active in the New World. The members who are qualified to use the booster fleet are the three disasters, the 6 sons of the Valley, the barbarians, and those so-called pillars. They suddenly appeared. Are they going to chase Laxus?" Speaking of this, Huo Shaoshan paused and said, "Marshal of the Warring States period, is it the reason to call us urgently to find a candidate to support Laxus?" After that, Zepha's personal invitation, Akainu's gambling war, and what happened on the Chambord Islands. The admirals who were present knew clearly that Long Yu was important to the current Navy headquarters. However, in the face of Huo Shaoshan's conclusion, Akainu's face sank, and he snorted coldly, "Marshal of the Warring States period, a mere battleship, is it worth so much work? It's absurd to call all the admirals of the headquarters urgently. You are a bit old and confused. If you let the 5 old stars know, I'm afraid you will be blamed." The stern voice fell, and the unpleasantness mixed in the words was not concealed at all. However, in the face of Akainu's tit-for-tat, the admiral's present fell silent. They are very clear about the importance of Long Yu to the Navy headquarters. If the final support candidate is selected, and then the order is issued, instead of wasting time and calling in an emergency, they will not refuse.